Welcome to episode 62 of Fizzy's Wacky World of Wrestling. My name is William Fitzpatrick, and folks, welcome to the final part of this odyssey of my local wrestling promotion of the free episode odyssey that has been my look at my local indie promotion. We've seen the ups, we've seen the downs, and we've seen the in-betweens of Southern Tier Wrestling and the last several events that this show has done. Now, folks, let's talk about a match and a show that I went to this past Wednesday. And looking at our calendar here, this past Wednesday, July 17th, 2019, I went to the Chautauqua County Fair. I went to look to go see at the farm animals, the sheep, the pigs, the cows, the goats, and I went to the other animal enclosure located at the floral pens to go see the other destructive force of nature. That wasn't a pig that was attempting to escape from its pen. No, I went to go see the floral gardens, which is the name of the pavilion that hosted this caged event full of wild, untamed, destructive beast of destruction. The mythological beings themselves, the chimera, the griffin, the hippogriff, the snake, the hydra, have nothing compared to the wrestlers of Southern Tier Wrestling, the destructive force of nature that only this arena can contain. What a classic pro wrestling venue this is. A county fairgrounds. Basically, pro wrestling as we know it was born in these hollow halls of carnival pavilion tents and fairground rides. Southern Tier Wrestling's Midway Mayhem 2019 at the Chautauqua County Fair in Dunkirk, Fredonia, New York. So originally, it was supposed to be at the Grandstand Pavilions, but once again, as we have noted, Southern Tier Wrestling tends to have a bit of a clash with the Thunder Gods, and this event was moved into the Floral Pavilion, which is the official name of the pavilion that is used for indoor theatrical events at the fairgrounds. And this fit like a glove. It was a balmy, hot 85 to 90 degrees outside, which basically meant that it was the perfect time to have a wrestling show inside of an indoor venue with some fans. Yes, there was air conditioning, and yes, there were fans. There was even a person in a War Machine suit, yes, a giant mechanized War Machine suit, walking around the pavilion saying hi to people. Yes, we do live in this timeline. So this only had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 matches, but those 7 matches each displayed a different variety of wrestlers, gimmicks, and the matches themselves, which led to a show that many didn't necessarily think was going to be a show that would literally knock it out of the park. Unless you're me, and then I looked at this card and went, a mystery. We have 3 announced matches. Vince Valor in his second defense of the SDW Fireheart Championship, which is neither made of fire nor made of hearts, faced it off against the guy who rains on people's parades, Cloudy. Then we have Anthony Gaines versus Sebastian Braun in the grudge match in the Gaines-Braun Rebel feud. And we also had a match between Ryan Cassidy and Mike Skyros. Those were the 3 matches announced for this show beforehand. Everything else was up in the air as to what exactly was going to be showing up, what kind of matches we were going to have, and it turns out that the youth movement decided to show up for the show. Rather unexpectedly, I might add. Because when you see an opportunity to impress people when you are in a position on a card that you're not normally on, as well take it. So, what do we have here? We have 7 matches. And people might be asking, what exactly was the crowd turnout for this particular show? They sold the building out. It was $12 for a fairground ticket. And we got into the fairgrounds, and the building was packed. Every seat was basically filled. There were a few empty spots, but not many. Primarily because people were wanting people to allow to get some space and some air because of the balmy heat conditions. And when people started hearing the loud screaming and yelling at the fairground pavilion, they rushed over to see what was up. In this case, it was the first match of our card. Vinny Moon of Fin to Win, one half of the Southern Tier Wrestling Tag Team Champions, decided that, unfortunately, Mako was not there, probably because of the fact that he literally dried out like a fish stuck in the middle of the desert. So, in his place was Fredonia native Rise. Yes, Dunkirk Fredonia native Rise, that's spelled with R-Y-Z-E, would be his tag team partner in this match against the dreaded Mikey Every Night. Yes, Mikey is a heel in this particular show. Last show, he was a babyface. Show before that, he was guy that annoys the crowd and tries to get them going. And here, he brought a protege with him, Richter. Richter is a debuting wrestler. Now, if I could best describe what Richter looks like, it looks like as though Every Night got a DNA sample of Vinny Moon's hair and decided to clone him into an evil wrestler. That was my first impression of Richter. And it was a good first impression, because if it's an impression of Vinny Moon, then okay, Vinny Moon is a solid wrestler, a great tag team specialist who's really developing into his own. And this was Richter's first match in front of a live wrestling crowd, as he's the latest product of the Grapplers Anonymous school. Same thing with Rise, and same thing with Vinny Moon. You know, guys who have come from Grapplers Anonymous up in Buffalo, New York. And Every Night is one of the trainers there. So this was a student learning the ropes of how to be a destructive heel wrestler. The guy's like 6'3" tall. Again, like I said on the last show, heavyweights are something that is at a bit of a lacking of a premium in the territory. Yes, you have Terrell Kenneth. Yes, you have Bill Collier, but there's not really a lot of depth as far as heavyweights are concerned. You also have Sebastian Braun and and Vince Fowler, but you know, you could always do with more heavyweights. And Richter is a tall, lanky heavyweight that is about 6'2", 6'3", tall guy. And his first impressions I got from the guy, he knows his fundamentals. He knows them very well. He did basic heel offense very well. It was a situation where they asked him to basically betray a heel, a destructive heel, and he did his job. Every Night was the constant nuisance of trying to tell the crowd to quiet down, only for them to jeer and boo at him to the point where the building was beginning to rumble a la Super Race style. Vinny Moon and Rise are a great tag team. They are fantastic. Rise is basically what would happen if you combined Moon and Orion together as a wrestler. He can do phenomenal flips and aerial acrobatics that really makes you go, wow, they're really developing an acumen for developing cruiserweight wrestlers. You know, this was a match that had Rise be the face in peril in the situation, while Every Night and Richter tried to destroy him, only for Vinny Moon to come in, save the day, and they won the match. It was a great opening match. It was a fantastic sell to, again, Fairgrounds fans. Fairgrounds fans are not prototypical pro wrestling fans. They're people who go for a day at the fair, and they happen to see various different events around them. In this particular case, it was a situation where they got to see pro wrestling possibly for the first time. And in all honesty, it was a good first impression. In fact, this was a great opening match. So what was after that? Well, you got a traditional old school babyface versus heel matchup. Once again, returning into the ranks of Southern Tier Wrestling, who has just discovered that I do podcasting, is James Santel. Versus he of the finely tuned trucker physique, Dewey Murray. Yes, Dewey has returned to the recap of the Southern Tier Wrestling shows for the first time in a while. How was the match? Well, let's counter in a couple things. Both Santel and Dewey are longtime wrestlers. They know how to work in front of a crowd. At first, it was a little confusing as to who the heel was in this situation, but it turned out to be Dewey and his finely tuned trucker physique, which he showed off to people to the point where they wanted to gag repeatedly. Santel really is getting back to where he was a few years ago. I really like the offense that he showcased in this particular match. Basically trying to go against the wall of finely tuned blubber and losing most of the time. Dewey using his finely tuned trucker physique to try and squash Santel into bits. It was like watching a person dive bomb into carnival fairground food. Overall, this was a really solid match. There was one mild problem, which was an accident on the when it came to the finish. Dewey got a little too close to both of them got too close to the ropes, so they had to reset it a little bit for the second pinfall to count as the free count. It was only a minor incident, but everything else about the match worked. Dewey was this unstoppable destroyer who tried to destroy Santel, and Santel, as the fiery babyface, came back and did his thing. And overall, I felt as though that this was a very good match. A great way to set people up for the kind of singles matches that were possible to have in this particular promotion. After this, and if you heard a noise in the background, it's because my cat decided to jump up here on the table and is now assisting me with the show. Or he's going to try and claw me, and because of the fact he doesn't like wild noises and doesn't like the noisy thing. So, after this was Anthony Gaines versus Sebastian Braun in the continuation of the Braun-Gaines Rebel feud, and overall it was a very, very solid match. Sebastian Braun has managed to figure out a claw hold and is trying to literally wring Anthony Gaines' his neck repeatedly. This was also a time when you also began to notice the heat began to affect many of the wrestlers. Dewey and Santel were affected by the heat, and along with a lot of other wrestlers. Anthony Gaines, in particular, was affected severely by the heat, to the point where basically everybody was worried that the guy was suffering heat exhaustion. It was 90 to 95 degrees outside, and you could definitely feel it. But there was also a nice wind coming from the sea, so because the sea is not that far away from the venue of the fairgrounds. It's only about 5 miles away, but you could still feel sea breeze. Sebastian Braun tried to destroy Anthony Gaines, but his lack of experience in this particular situation really did not help him against the wily, unpredictable kinetic ball of energy that is Anthony Gaines, the none of a kind. It really is in his name. And he really is the kind of individual who will literally destroy you in means you can't even expect. Basically, this was young monster trying to figure out how to put away a unpredictable Goliath. And it was a very interesting contrast of styles and personalities. Sebastian Braun trying to be the unstoppable monster, while Anthony Gaines is the kinetic monster that just destroys you with pure enthusiasm and launching into you like a lawn dart. Overall, really fun, very fun match, and a great way to introduce to people to the hybrid style of modern wrestling. After this, and after my cat jumps off of the table here for a second, next up we have our defense of the Fireheart Championship. Vince Fowler versus Cloudy. I gotta say, this is the most personality that Cloudy has ever shown in a wrestling ring at this point in my local promotion. The guy thinks of himself as a beefed up musclehead who literally has the body of Adonis. And he tries to use that body against Vince Fowler. It didn't really work very well because he's not that strong, and Vince Fowler throws him around the ring like a ragdoll. This was a match that had great psychology and a attention to detail. Valor has always been incredibly consistent about his matches in singles matches and in tags. And you could definitely see that here. Cloudy once again showcased some things that I had not seen from him before, and wow, okay, I was really impressed because he's always been a tag guy that's always been stuck around people who are, to be completely honest, the kind of people who literally out crazy the guy, like Ryan Cassidy, who we'll talk about a little bit later. This was a match that really established the Fireheart Championship as a worthy prize to be contested for by individuals in this wrestling ring. I felt as though that we really gave a good impression of it. And I'm not normally a fan of championship belts, usually focusing more on the individual performers over the shiny things that they attempt to collect, like Golem. A successful defense of the Fireheart Championship and a storyline element in which Valor defeated Cloudy via submission, proving to a certain somebody who was out wrestling in the uncharted territories that yes, Valor has submission moves. And he's more than capable of taking on the next threat for his title, Brandon Thurston, in a submission match at Irresistible Forces on August 3rd. I've talked about this show quite a bit, but that's because it's the next show on the STW schedule. And this card looks really good. It's a great introduction to pro wrestling for Sherman, which has not seen pro wrestling in quite a while, not since the Traveling Carnival days, I don't believe. And overall, this was a great way to introduce to the fans of Dunkirk, Fredonia, the Fireheart Championship, which is now the new secondary belt of STW. So what came after that? Well, the Agent of Chaos himself, Ryan Cassidy, after smashing the bejesus out of John Kennedy in the back with a chair on the last show, came back for more rampages and some story time. He felt he's underappreciated and disrespected by STW management, and he is going to make them pay. STW management, however, has brought in a hired gun, the Moonlight Sun, Mike Skyros. It's a very interesting contrast here, and I feel as though it's a very smart way of booking this particular feud, because authority figure storylines have a tendency to backfire spectacularly if they're not careful. Ryan Cassidy is still the heel that everybody hates, but he's now going up against the babyfaces of Sovereignty Wrestling. In this case, it's Mike Skyros, who once again is able to have a great match with pretty much everybody. This was one of Ryan Cassidy's best matches by a wide margin. He's always had solid, good, to great matches, but against a guy like Mike Skyros, he was really able to cut loose. It was still that dastardly, underhanded heel, but there was a lot of signs of that cruiserweight personality that he had when he was a babyface. This was a match that was very much submission heavy, which is very interesting to see, as Cassidy kept targeting Mike Skyros' arm. After a low blow and a finishing of Skyros' arm off, well, Cassidy shocked the audience by winning this match and establishing himself as a threat in the wrestling circles. He defeated Dakota Orion in the dreaded mattress match. He lost to disqualification by Matt Ratcliffe, but beat the bejesus out of the guy. And then he beat up a wrestling manager. And also tried to beat up Mike Skyros after the match, but was then pulled away. Ryan Cassidy is proving that he is literally the agent of anarchy in this promotion. He's facing against authority. He's still the heel. For now. And they haven't done anything crazy like make the management team the heels, because we've already seen a lot of that out of professional wrestling. This is going to be very interesting to see moving forward, but again, like I said, I'm optimistic about it, but I'm also concerned that it might lead to the outcome not ending up the way that they expect it to. Or if it does end up the way they expect it to, it's not going to get the reaction that they expected it's going to be. So what is better than having several singles matches that are extremely well thought out and planned? Well, what about a handicap match where one person decides to destroy people? Terrell Kenneth versus Dave Bentley, aka DT, and Matt Ratcliffe in his second appearance on the podcast. Matt Ratcliffe tries to take it to Terrell Kenneth. It ends poorly for him, as he literally ends up being run over by the destroyer of everything. Terrell Kenneth made an example of these two wrestlers in a handicap match to showcase his strength against the Sovereignty Wrestling heavyweight champion, Big Time Bill Collier. And then it got even better after the destructive squash by cutting a promo. He is the best and he is the destroyer of everything was basically what he said in that situation. And he was going to destroy Big Time Bill Collier. It's going to be very interesting to see if he can actually do that at the Forces. at Irresistible Forces. Because, yeah, he's capable of that. Overall, the match did exactly the kind of job that you're expected to in that situation, which is, to say the least, building up your heel wrestler after he takes a series of defeats in the previous year, which Terrell kind of had done. And in all honesty, it was a situation where it was a very, very solid match. Again, every piece played their part in the situation, and overall, it was a great setup to another match that where everybody's looking forward to in that situation. There's some legitimate hype here, and I feel it's well deserved between these two wrestlers. Where it goes from there, we have absolutely no idea. So, what exactly was the match that ended the show? If you might be asking. Well, To Infinity and Beyond make their second appearance on Wacky World of Wrestling. Colin Delaney, Tweet, Cheech, and we have a story to tell. When Infinity and Beyond did their entrance, Colin Delaney did his traditional entrance of greeting fans from the crowd. And then he stopped over to our section, slapped hands with a kid in the crowd, and then gave us both a high five. I don't normally see wrestlers going into our sections very often unless, they're looking for that last good luck thing, from us. But what I also didn't expect was for him to literally vertical jump over a dude who was sitting in the stands and then run down to the arena. I've never seen somebody vertical leap that high before getting to a wrestling ring. Was rather impressed. So who are the other teams in this particular scuffle for number one contendership? Now, see, here's the thing. This was for the Manny Escobar Memorial Cup. Now, it was based for a wrestler named Manny Escobar who was a part of the tag team called the Bone Crushers. And Manny Escobar tragically passed away last year, and they had a memorial tournament to honor him. And this year, they decided to condense the tournament into basically a 4-way tag team match with 4 teams. And the winner of this match would receive the trophy, the Manny Escobar Memorial Cup, and face off against the Southern Tier Wrestling Tag Team Champions at the next event, which is Irresistible Forces. So the other 3 teams are the Family, Rob Sweet and the Landlord, the Queen City Kings, Dakota Orion and Anthony Musso, and the Unbookables, Steve Gange and Waz, also known as the Raids at Ellswood, with their manager, Jonathan Ashe. So, Steve Gange once again appears, and this was a phenomenal main event tag team match. Because you have a veteran team like To Infinity and Beyond, the coordination between the 4 teams was spot on. It didn't feel like a uncontrolled chaotic mess. It felt like a controlled chaotic mess with a bunch of teams doing a bunch of double tandem maneuvers while also dealing with the extreme heat, which had dissipated slightly because of the conditions had actually gotten cooler. The Family antagonized as usual because of the presence of Super Beast, and one thing I should probably mention is during their entrance is Super Beast got a fan so riled up and angry that he literally chucked a chair at the guy. He thought that his girlfriend had been insulted, so security and Vinnie Moon pounced on the guy immediately and threw him out of the venue. So that was something that happened. From the source that I got, which was a sign guy. We have a local sign guy that shows up at post signs at shows. So after that, we also have the Queen City Kings, and this is the first time I've seen Anthony Musso in a wrestling ring. I've seen Dakota Orion before, but not Musso. And it was a really solid match by Anthony in that situation. Good first impression. Dakota Orion, same impression as always. Guy can fly higher than anybody else in that situation, not counting Rise, who was giving him a literal run for his money in that situation. But it's great to have multiple cruiserweights because you're like, wow, we have a ton of roster depth. And this main event was rocking. You have a lot of fans and a lot of people just cheering for everything that's going on in that match. The first team eliminated was the Queen City Kings. And afterwards, the Family tried to pick off the Unbookables. and actually succeeded when To Infinity and Beyond assisted. So it came down to To Infinity and Beyond versus the Family, and continuing the story that the Family are suddenly having issues winning matches. And the dual tandem tag team maneuvers of Charles Delaney and Cheech were too much for Rob Sweet and the Landlord, which ended with them losing the match, with To Infinity and Beyond winning the Manny Escobar Memorial Trophy, and now they get to face off against Finn to win for the STW Tag Team Championships. It's going to be very interesting to see how that match develops, because Finn to win have been on a bit of a roll lately. But will this be the first well-known tag team to win some tag team gold? We'll see. So, that was Midway Mayhem 2019. A lot of the young talent on this card really showed through with the amount of potential and present potential that they have. I felt that this was a great introduction for people who are not particularly familiar with pro wrestling to see a pro wrestling show in the flesh themselves. After the show, we had our little intermission, and I got some Matt Ratcliffe stickers and a Vince Valor hat to add to the merch that I have been getting at pro wrestling shows since about 2014, 15 or so. It was great to meet people. It was great to say hi to the folks. And, moving on, we have ourselves a really interesting card. We have a submission match between Brandon Thurston and Vince Valor. We have a match between Big Time Bill Collier and Terrell Kenneth for the SDW Heavyweight Championship. To Infinity and Beyond versus Finn to win. And then you have the rest of this undercard and the roster that you have in this situation. And honestly, it's a really interesting time in Southern Tier Wrestling, where you have a lot of people who are not being booked by ESW and other promotions thriving in this promotion. This little tiny promotion down in Chautauqua County, New York, who is managing to pull a lot of rabbits out of their hat. And in a good way. It's a positive experience. A lot of wrestlers who were virtual unknowns are getting bookings in bigger and better places. And the potential that they have, as well as the development that they've gotten in this particular promotion, is always really interesting for me to see. And like I've said in the past few shows, I take my mother to these shows. It's always been a really fun experience for us. And Irresistible Forces is looking like another very interesting show. What you have in this situation is a mayhem that now turns into Unstoppable Force versus Unstoppable Force. It really truly was a sensational spectacle of mayhem, or a returning spectacle of mayhem at the county fair. A great introduction for people to pro wrestling, a interesting variety of matches, some really great singles matches in the extreme 90 to 95 degree heat, and an overall positive momentum going forward for STW and for the rest of these independently booked professional wrestlers. If you want to book one of these guys, I would recommend it. I mean, seriously. And this is not just local bias or anything like that. I really do feel as though that these guys and gals, I mean, seriously, we need to start booking more women's wrestling matches out a year. We had Kate Carney. Not sure where she's ended up, but I think, if you have wrestlers booked in this situation, then it's going to be really interesting. And I really feel as though that there is a lot of depth. I've said it before and I'll say it again. You have a ton of depth on these cards. Individuals who are normally undercard wrestlers are able to wrestle in the mid card and the top end of the card and really develop their skills as really good three-dimensional wrestlers. When Grapplers Anonymous opened in 2014, it basically helped start the revitalization of Buffalo, New York wrestling, because back in the olden days, the days of Ilio DiPaolo, you were able to make a lot of really good money in Buffalo. When you did tours in Buffalo, you made money. When you were a heel wrestler in Buffalo, you made money. But that kind of went away a couple of decades ago with the Rust Belt and the financial crises of the late 1960s, 1970s, and the 1980s. Pro wrestling is a cheap alternative that really does work as intended, because if you're a rec center that's looking to book something, go book a pro wrestling show, because you'll be able to get a card of solid wrestlers. And the thing is if you work at it and you bring together a bunch of individuals who really want to work hard and really want to make something good for their community, then a pro wrestling show, in the days where fuel prices are going up and alternative methods of entertainment in like motorsports and whatnot are going up or declining in popularity, pro wrestling, it's a field that I feel as though has a lot of potential. And you have everybody and their grandmother getting signed to various different promotions at this point. If you're an independent pro wrestler, it's a golden season for you. It very much is the epitome of a Sengoku period for pro wrestling. You have a lot of just absolute chaos and madness going on at this point, and whereas I've said beforehand, I'm completely calm and relaxed because it's expected. This chaos is fully expected by me in this situation. It's not something that's unexpected. It's something that is to be expected and something to be looked at, analyzed, and go, okay, what direction are we going in now? What Buffalo has done is set themselves up well for the present era and the future. Present is the more important of the two, because that is what the actual reality is. The future is unpredictable and oftentimes can be unkind. But what you have now are a bunch of veterans who are very capable of still working at a high quality level, and you have a gobs upon gobs of youthful talent that is potential to be signed by any of the major pro wrestling promotions if they want to get somebody that is interested in developing their skills further on a major wrestling promotion platform. But overall, this was a great step forward and one of the shows that I consider to be one of the top 3 shows of the year. For a show that had free announced matches and a bunch of mystery behind it, I really think that it really did well. So, what's next? I don't know. I might actually do some more coverage of various different other promotions and see how they're doing. But I think I might also do a few other things. But yes, the next STW show is Irresistible Forces, August 3rd at the Sherman Middle School in Sherman, New York, for the Sherman Days Festival. And, well, definitely a very interesting card that's been put together and a very interesting bunch of storylines that have come together for STW this year. I'm very interested to see what happens going forward, because there's always a ton of potential. Well, folks, this concludes our free episode run at my local independent wrestling promotion, which is Sovereignty Wrestling, a returning spectacle of mayhem at the county fair, episode 62 of Fizzy's Wacky World of Wrestling. I thank you for joining me on this particular odyssey of pro wrestling, and thank you for supporting this show throughout 60 plus episodes. It's been a very interesting run for me as a podcaster, and it's not ending anytime soon. At least if my voice can hold out, and at least if the I'm going to keep recording podcasting episodes. It's not like I'm not going to stop because of Google Hangouts ending on August 1st or anything like that. But there might be a bit of a lull podcast in between during August, just letting you know ahead of time. But this has been episode 62 of Fizzy's Wacky World of Wrestling, and I thank you once again for joining me on this odyssey of looking at my local wrestling promotion and what wrestling has become in this local area. You might actually see some more articles about the my local wrestling area in the near future from a certain somebody, because I'm starting to get more into writing, as well as continuing to do podcasting. I thank you so much for joining me on, once again, this odyssey. And I hope to see you again for the next edition of Wacky World of Wrestling, where I'm not sure what we're going to be covering next time, but it's going to be something interesting. Anyway, I hope you have a good day or night, and I'll see you for the next edition of Fizzy's Wacky World of Wrestling. This has been William Fitzpatrick, Signing off once again, and this has been episode 62, a returning spectacle of mayhem at the county fair. Have a good day or night. I'll see you next time. Bye!